Let me guess, you make decent money, not broke, not struggling to eat. Bills are paid, maybe you even have a little saved, but somehow, you still don't feel wealthy. You see people online making the same income as you, sometimes less, and they're investing, buying assets, building freedom. Meanwhile, you're thinking, where is my money actually going? If that sounds familiar, this video is for you, because the difference between middle class and wealthy, it's not just income, it's the level of income and what happens psychologically at each level, and there are exactly 4 of them. My name is Chris, and I spend way too much time thinking about how income levels quietly shape financial behavior and long-term wealth outcomes. If you're someone who makes decent money but still feels stuck, stressed, or unsure why your net worth isn't growing, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Here's the thing, most people think wealth is about earning a lot. It's not. It's about crossing specific financial thresholds and behaving differently once you get there, and most people never realize which level they're actually operating in. So let's break it down. Look, according to US Census Bureau data, the median individual income in America sits around $45,000, but millions of Americans earn under $40,000 annually. At this level, your money goes almost entirely to fixed expenses: rent, food, transportation, insurance, utilities. There is no margin. Here's what most people don't realize. At survival income, math doesn't matter. Psychology does, because when 80 to 90% of your income is consumed by necessities, your brain shifts into scarcity mode. Behavioral economists call this cognitive load. When you're constantly worried about bills, your decision-making bandwidth shrinks. Studies published in Science magazine have shown financial scarcity can temporarily reduce cognitive capacity comparable to losing 10 to 13 IQ points. That's not an insult, that's biology. When survival is threatened, long-term planning shuts down. Investing feels impossible. Retirement feels abstract. Building wealth feels like something rich people do. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I'm past that. I make more than that. Good. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If you're making $55,000 in a high-cost city, you might still be operating psychologically at this level, because income level isn't just a number, it's margin. If you can't consistently save 15 to 20% of your income, you're still in survival mode, and that's not a moral failure, it's math. This is where most of the middle class lives, and this is where things get really interesting. At this level, your needs are covered, there's breathing room, you might save a little, you might invest occasionally, you might have a 401k, but here's the trap. Lifestyle inflation accelerates faster than net worth. According to Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finance's data, the median net worth for households earning between $60,000 and $90,000 is dramatically lower than most people assume, often under $200,000, excluding home equity. Why? Because this level creates a dangerous illusion. You feel successful, you're comfortable, but comfort is expensive. Here's a simple example. Let's say you earn $80,000. After taxes, maybe you take home $60,000. If you save 10%, that's $6,000 per year. Invested at 8% annually for 30 years, that grows to roughly $680,000. Sounds good, right? But if instead you increase savings to 20%, $12,000 per year, that becomes about $1.36 million. Double the savings, more than double the freedom. But most people don't increase savings, they upgrade. Apartment to bigger apartment, car to nicer car, vacations to more frequent vacations. Here's what most people don't realize. This is where wealth is decided, not at $300,000 income. Here, because this is where habits form, and habits compound longer than money does. Now, we're entering territory that feels wealthy to many people. 6 figures. This is where people assume financial stress disappears. It doesn't. It changes. At this level, the psychology shifts from scarcity to comparison. Now, you're comparing neighborhoods, private schools, investment portfolios, business opportunities, your peer group changes, and here's the part nobody talks about. The pressure increases, because when you earn $150,000, society expects you to be successful. Your spending rises to match your perceived identity. Research in behavioral finance shows that people anchor their spending to social reference groups. You don't compare yourself to billionaires. You compare yourself to co-workers, and if they're upgrading, you feel behind. Now let's do some math. $150,000 income. After tax, maybe $110,000. If you invest 25%, About $27,500 annually. At 8% for 25 years, that's about $2.1 million. That's real wealth, but if lifestyle inflation eats that margin, and you invest only $10,000 per year, you end up with around $790,000 instead. Same income, completely different future. This is where it gets really interesting. This is where people either break into wealth or permanently trap themselves in rich but stressed. High income, high expenses, low freedom. You see it everywhere. Doctors with million-dollar homes and no liquidity. Entrepreneurs making $200,000 but living paycheck to paycheck. Income went up. Systems didn't. Now, we're not just talking income. We're talking leverage. This level is different because wealthy individuals don't rely solely on earned income. They rely on ownership, equity, businesses, index funds, real estate, assets that pay without their labor. According to IRS data, the majority of high earners above $250,000 derive significant portions of income from investments and business profits, not wages alone. Here's what most people don't realize. Wealth isn't built by earning more. It's built by owning more. At this level, savings rate matters more than salary. If someone earns $300,000 but spends $270,000, they're middle class with better restaurants. But someone earning $180,000 investing $80,000 annually, that person becomes wealthy because leverage compounds exponentially. Let's run the math. $80,000 invested annually at 8% for 20 years. That's over $3.6 million. That's the gap. Ownership creates asymmetry. Labor income is linear, asset income is exponential. Look, here's the uncomfortable part. Most people never cross from stability to expansion intentionally. They drift. Income rises, expenses rise, savings stay flat. Why? Because humans adapt. It's called hedonic adaptation. The new car feels normal in 3 months. The raise feels ordinary in 6 months. The bigger house feels standard in a year. Your baseline resets. And if your savings rate doesn't rise faster than your lifestyle, you stay middle class forever, even at high income. I once met 2 software engineers, both earning about $140,000. One invested aggressively, 35% savings rate, drove a modest car, bought below his means. The other upgraded everything immediately. 5 years later, the first had a $400,000 investment portfolio. The second had debt, same salary, different level behavior. Income doesn't create wealth. Savings rate does. Ownership does. Time does. Step 1. Calculate your real level, not your salary, your margin. Can you save 20% consistently? If not, fix that first. Step 2. Lock your lifestyle. Every raise, save at least 50% of it. Force upward mobility into investments, not expenses. Step 3. Automate ownership. Low-cost index funds. Tax-advantaged accounts. Broad diversification. Data from Vanguard shows long-term average returns of diversified equity portfolios historically around 7 to 10% before inflation over extended periods. You don't need brilliance, you need consistency. Step 4. Increase leverage, side income, skill stacking, equity compensation, business ownership, shift from labor-only income to hybrid income. Step 5. Protect against psychological drift. Track net worth quarterly, not income, net worth. Because income impresses people. Net worth frees you. Here's what most people don't realize. The wealthy don't think in terms of income levels. They think in terms of how much of my life is funded by assets. That's the real divide. Middle class equals income funds lifestyle. Wealthy equals assets fund lifestyle. And once your assets cover your expenses, work becomes optional, not mandatory. That's freedom. Look, you don't need to make $500,000. You don't need to start a unicorn company. You need margin. You need discipline. You need ownership, and you need time. The quiet separation between middle class and wealthy happens gradually, not dramatically. It happens in savings rates, in lifestyle decisions, in investment habits, in psychology. And the earlier you understand these 4 income levels, the faster you move up them intentionally instead of accidentally. If this video helped you see your level clearly, comment below. Which level are you operating in right now? And if you're serious about moving toward leverage income and asset-based freedom, subscribe. Because the difference between middle class and wealthy isn't luck, it's structure. And structure can be built. I'll see you in the next one.